I was noticing starting a few years ago that there were needs that my students were having in the classroom that I wasn't addressing by staying so much more traditional and having students stay in their seats and raising their hands and doing other things like that. It wasn't allowing the students to be able to have a comfort place in their classroom because their behavior outside of an academic environment is so much different. So, for example, being able to have the opportunity to shout out in an appropriate way. I have spontaneous learners that want to be able to do things like that. So I try to build that into the classroom along with some other structures so that they feel validated and have a appropriate way to react in that way. Right, so you can see at the top I labeled it as the song because the song is called Blackbird, but I wrote that the lyrics were written by Paul McCartney. The entire band performed the song, and it was on one of their albums, but it was in 1968. Just shout out at me, what are some other things that we knew that were going on in 1968? Yeah, Alistair, shout out.
Martin Luther King died.
Yes, nailed it. What else?
Segregation.
Yes, right, and like they were that response to like integration. They were going through some of that. Civil rights movement, right? So these are bringing up all these things that we've been talking about. So I'm going to give you 3 questions that I want you to think about. What I'm going to do is we're going to take a moment of silence. And I'm going to give you about 1 minute where we're just going to be completely quiet before we get up and out of our seats and are working with people around the room. And in these 3 minutes, I want you to think about these 3 questions. Maybe jot some ideas down, because these will be the questions you discuss with your silent appointments in a minute. And if you see any evidence in the text that you want to mark to support your thinking, you can do that. So we're going to take just a moment of silence for about 1 minute for you to think about these 3 questions. First, in your own words, what do you think this song is about? Why is that important? What is his message for people negatively affected by the racial tensions of the civil rights movement? And the last one, to which of our speakers are these lyrics most closely connected and why? So a moment of silence for 1 minute, and then we'll get up and out of our seats. In show 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, so we're gonna make some silent appointments. We're gonna get up, we're gonna move around, we're gonna do some chatting with some people around the room. We're gonna do 1 question at a time, so I'm gonna actually cover up our questions. So when we make silent appointments, remember I'm gonna tell you what kind of person I want you to make a silent appointment with. And then I'm gonna silently count to 10 while you guys are locking eyes with somebody. Maybe you make a little hand motion. What's my favorite way to make an appointment? A really awkward wink that's going to make people feel weird, right? So try making a silent appointment, and then we'll get up out of our seats and move around the room once we know people are appointed. Okay, so first one, I want you to look around the room, make a silent appointment with someone who you work well with.
Eisenhorn because
I say bring it back, bring it back, bring it back, bring it back, bring it back. One thing I forgot to mention, have something that you are proud of that you can share out. We're going to do popsicle sticks in about 2 to 3 minutes. Right? Turn and talk to your partners.
Okay, so what do you like? I didn't get to write it down, but all the people that died from like the Civil War.
You could fly free because when it says Blackbird fly, it's meaning fly free and you don't have to listen to all of the government rules and that segregation at the time about the different bathrooms and stuff like that.
I think it's about like slavery and like to like be free, and it's important because that was like a really big part of like back then.
I say listen, you say up, listen, listen, listen. All right, let's hear from some popsicle sticks. So the question's on the board. In your own words, what do you think this song is about and why is it important? I'm sorry, I'm not gonna look. Matt.
I think this song is about the civil rights and Martin Luther King. It's important because like it kind of tells them to like leave their problems in the past and stuff.
Great. Nice job, Matt. Thank you. Bridget, you're up next. We're gonna do two more after Bridget.
I think it's about like how the blacks and the civil rights, like how they wanted to get somewhere with how they were being treated. So it's like in a song they're telling them to learn how to fly and to point out there and get somewhere with it.
Good. New perspective. Thank you. New sheet. Move on to question 2. Before we move on to our new silent appointment, we're gonna reread this with a fill in the blank reading. And we're gonna do it so that we can just make sure that we have the right ideas in our heads. So remember, when we do fill in the blank reading, I'm gonna read most of it for you, but every once in a while I'm gonna leave out a word or two, and it's gonna be your job to fill it in. So make sure your paper is facing up so you have the words in front of you. Right, so this is blackbird. Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these two words and learn to fly. All your life you were only waiting for this moment to arise. Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these two words and learn to see. You have a new perspective. You heard it in a different way. You helped read along with it. So now, when you move to your next silent appointment, you're going to talk about question number 2. This time, I want you to make a silent appointment with, let's see, I'll give you 10 seconds. Make that silent appointment, maybe an awkward wink to help them out. I want you to make a silent appointment with someone that you want to work with. If you can hear me, clap twice. If you can hear me, give me a whoop, whoop, whoop. All right. I want anyone wearing tennis shoes to stand up, and I'm going to choose 3. Wait.
Americans at the time, and some of them were, like I said earlier, born into segregation. And it's time to venture out and do what they want, not follow like the government rules always. So they need to actually grow wings and just go.
All right, Oscar, what did you and your partners talk about?
Black people because they're protesting to have the same rights as white people.
Great. Then I just share one last idea.
Okay, so how he mentioned in his song that
I say listen, you say up, listen, listen. We need to make sure we hear Bridget's voice here. Bridget, go ahead.
Okay, so in his song he mentioned take these broken wings and learn to fly. He's not like only pointing to African Americans, but the whites were affected by it too. And he's basically saying stand up and take what you want, like make it work, like what you have and make it work.
Good insight. Thank you for that. All right, last silent appointment. This silent appointment, we're going to focus on question number 3. And this question is, which of our speakers are the lyrics most closely connected to? Shout out, who are some of the choices of the speakers? Yes. 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 All right. This last silent appointment, I'm gonna give you 10 seconds, look around the room, make a silent appointment with someone who you have not spoken to yet today. I want the person in your pair, that is the oldest, to stand up, and then we are going to whip around the room and hear all responses. So every partnership should have one person stand up. So now we have about half the room standing. What we're gonna do is we are going to whip around the room so that every voice can be heard. So as the other people are sharing out, you can think yes that you agree. We'll see how many voices agree. If you disagree, you're gonna hold that in for now. All right, so we're gonna let everybody share around the room. Is there somebody that would like to start? Courtney's message is the closest to. Thank you. Jake.
I'll just go with Martin Luther King.
Great. Candace. Awesome. Bridget. Courtney. Nushi. I think that it went very well. In terms of where we're at in our curriculum, it was bridging from some things that were more historical to more things that were contemporary for them, or more contemporary ideas. A lot of my students have a strong interest in musicality, so this was a way for us to be able to bring that into the classroom. In terms of some of the CLR strategies that we incorporate into our classroom, I think that this was pretty typical of what you see in our classroom. My students really value the opportunity to move. My students really value the opportunity to have some autonomy and some choice. And those were types of things that I was able to incorporate into this lesson. And I think what you saw today is kind of typical of what you see on a normal class day. To movement, that was one thing that scared me, allowing them to do that. I felt like I was losing a little bit of control, but allowing them to move in an appropriate way, teaching them to move in an appropriate way, and working that into my lessons has allowed me to give the students the opportunity to do what they need to do in an academic classroom. And I feel like I'm trying to build and bridge the opportunity for them to react the way they would in their own cultural environment outside of school, and bridge that into what is more in an academic environment.